Phase 1. The Honda. You are 24, the year is 2003. You have, in your savings account, $11,000. You need a car. You go to a used lot on a Saturday in April. The salesman walks you to a 2001 Honda Civic with 84,000 miles on it. The Civic is technically gray. The Civic has cloth seats. The Civic has a tape deck that the salesman tells you also plays CDs through an adapter. You pay $9,400 in cash. You drive the Civic home. You sit in your apartment that night and you do, on a piece of paper, the math. The math says that if you keep the Civic for 10 years, instead of trading it in every 4, you will save, roughly, $28,000 in payments and depreciation. You fold the paper, you put it in a drawer, you forget about it. Lucas is your dad's friend. Lucas is 48. Lucas has worked in finance for 26 years. You see Lucas at lunch the next month. You tell Lucas about the Civic. You tell Lucas you got a deal. Lucas does not say good job. Lucas does not push back. Lucas eats his sandwich. Lucas asks one question. Lucas asks, "Do you know what a car actually costs?" You say, $9,400. Lucas says, "No, a car costs whatever the next car costs. Most people buy cars in chains. The Civic is technically the first link in a chain. The question is whether you are going to keep buying links." You laugh. You tell Lucas you will drive the Civic until it dies. Lucas does not laugh. Lucas finishes his sandwich. Lucas says one thing. Lucas says, "Most people say that. Most people mean it for about 38 months. Phase 1 is complete. The Civic is at 24 just a car. The Civic will not, at 46, be just a car. Phase 2. The first decade. You are 24 to 34, 10 years go by. The Civic, by year 10, has 147,000 miles on it. The Civic has had 2 batteries, 1 timing belt, 4 tires twice, and a passenger side mirror that came off in the snow in 2007 and was replaced for $41 at a junkyard. Kevin is your brother. Kevin is 22 when you buy the Civic. Kevin, at 26, buys a Tahoe. Kevin, at 30, trades the Tahoe for a 4Runner. Kevin, at 33, leases an Acura because Kevin says the lease is basically free. You do not, when Kevin says this, correct him. You drive Kevin to the Acura dealership in the Civic. Your friends make the jokes early. Your friends call the Civic the box. Your friends ask, on a road trip in 2006, if you are sure the heater works. The heater works. You are sure. The savings for 10 years are real. The car payment you do not have is, on average, $420 a month. You put the $420 every month into a boring index fund. You toggle the dividend reinvestment setting on. You do not check the account except in January. The account, by year 10, is at $71,000. You meet Melissa at 31. Melissa drives a Subaru. Melissa, on the second date, asks about the Civic. You tell Melissa it is a 2001. Melissa nods. Melissa does not, technically, say anything else. Melissa, on the 4th date, gets in the Civic. The passenger seat squeaks. Melissa says, "I had one of these in college." You marry Melissa at 33. You and Melissa do not at the wedding arrive in the Civic. You and Melissa do, on the way home from the rehearsal dinner, take the Civic. The Civic is, on that night, 11 years old. Phase 2 is complete. The Civic technically still runs. The chain Lucas warned about is technically not a chain you have started. Phase 3. The pressure years. You are 34 to 40. The pressure starts in year 11. Year 11 is when Melissa's boss buys a 7 Series BMW. Year 11 is when Kevin, at 32, leases a second Acura. Year 11 is when the Civic, in February, will not start in the cold, and you have to call AAA from a parking lot at 6:15 in the morning. You replace the alternator for $390. The Civic starts again. The Civic by year 12 has 168,000 miles on it. Year 12 is when the comments start at work. Year 12 is when a coworker named Brian calls the Civic the lawnmower in the parking lot. Year 12 is when, at the company picnic, a woman from accounting asks, sincerely, if you are doing okay financially. You tell the woman from accounting that you are doing okay financially. You do not technically tell her that you have $194,000 in the brokerage account. You drive home in the Civic. Melissa, at year 13, asks the question. Melissa asks it gently. Melissa asks, "Do you ever think about getting a different car?" You say, "Yes. I think about it almost every week, and then I do the math." Melissa says, "Show me the math." You show Melissa the math. The math, by year 13, has a column the napkin in 2003 did not have. The column says that the $71,000 in year 10 is, by year 13, with market growth and continued contributions, $126,000. The column says that if the Civic lasts 5 more years, the column will be over $200,000. Melissa reads the math. Melissa does not technically say anything else. Melissa keeps driving the Subaru. The Civic stays in the driveway. Phase 3 is complete. The Civic technically has survived the years it was supposed to die. The pressure was, it turns out, the test the Civic was built for. Phase 4. The weird years. You are 40 to 50. The Civic by year 16 has 220,000 miles on it. The Civic by year 16 has become a thing people talk about. Kevin, who is now 38, has a third Acura. Kevin's neighbors, who are 42, have a Tesla. Your coworker Brian, who once called the Civic the lawnmower, has, in the past 8 years, owned 5 cars. Brian technically does not remember the joke. You do, in year 17, replace the timing belt for the second time. You do, in year 18, replace the radiator. You do, in year 19, replace the driver's side window motor with a part you order on the internet for $53 and a YouTube video that takes you 90 minutes on a Saturday. The Civic by year 20 has 270,000 miles on it. The Civic by year 20 is the kind of car strangers comment on at gas stations. A man at a gas station in Kentucky in 2021 says, "My uncle had one of these. Drove it 350 before the head went." You nod, you pump your gas, you drive home. The brokerage account by year 20 is at $490,000. The brokerage account is technically the money that would have been cars. The brokerage account does not, on the highway in Kentucky, have anything to do with what you are driving. Lucas by now is 68. Lucas calls you in your 43rd year. Lucas does not ask about the Civic. Lucas asks how you are. You tell Lucas you are okay. You tell Lucas the Civic is at 248,000 miles. Lucas on the phone laughs for the first time in 20 years of conversations about money. Lucas says, "I told you about the chain. You were the first person in 20 years who actually listened." Phase 4 is complete. The Civic is technically embarrassing. The Civic is technically the most profitable thing in your house. Phase 5. The math reveals itself. You are 50. The Civic in year 22 has 312,000 miles on it. The Civic in March of your 50th year, on a Tuesday morning at 6:50, in the parking lot of a coffee shop, will not start. You call A for the 4th time in 22 years. The A driver, who is 26, looks at the Civic the way people look at a sleeping dog. The A driver says, "You drive this every day?" You say, "Yes." The A driver says, "How long?" You say, 22 years. The A driver shakes his head. The A driver tows the Civic to a mechanic. The mechanic calls you at 11. The mechanic says the head gasket is gone. The mechanic says the repair would be $2,800. The mechanic says gently that he would not technically recommend it. You sit at your desk at lunch. You do, for the first time in 22 years, the new math. The new math says that the brokerage account, the one fed every month by the car payment that did not exist, is, in March of your 50th year, at $721,000. You go to the same used lot you went to in 2003? The lot is, technically, run by the son of the man who sold you the original Civic. The son walks you to a 2018 Honda Civic with 62,000 miles on it. You pay $11,800 in cash. You drive it home. You sit in your kitchen that night. You do not put a piece of paper in a drawer. You do not technically need to. The math is by now automatic. Phase 5 is complete. The Civic, the first one, finally died. The discipline that the Civic was for 22 years the daily reminder of did not. Phase 6. What the Civic was actually about. You are 52. You are sitting at lunch with Lucas. Lucas is 70. Lucas is technically retired now. Lucas eats his sandwich slowly. Lucas asks how the new Civic is. You say, "And it runs." Lucas nods. Lucas says, "The Civic was never the point. You know that." You say, "I know that." Lucas says, "Most people, when they hear this story, think the lesson is about the car. The lesson is not about the car. The lesson is about the fact that for 22 years, on roughly 7,000 mornings, you did not buy a car you could have bought. The car you did not buy is technically the entire savings account." You say, "Yes." Lucas says, "You did not save money. You imposed friction." The friction compounded. Most people remove friction. Most people pay for the convenience of removing friction. The thing you bought when you bought the Civic in 2003 was the friction itself. The Civic was the apparatus that made the friction durable for 22 years. Kevin retires at 60. Kevin's last day is a Friday in March. Kevin, on his last day, drives a 2024 Acura that is technically his 11th new car since he was 22. Kevin has in his retirement accounts $1,100,000. Kevin is, by every measure, fine. You have at 52 $1,410,000 in the brokerage account, a paid-off house, and a 2018 Civic with 71,000 miles on it. The difference between you and Kevin is not the salary. The difference is not the index fund. The difference is one decision, made on a Saturday in April in 2003, and made again on roughly 7,000 mornings after that, in the form of not making it. You think sitting at lunch with Lucas, about the man at the gas station in Kentucky. You think about Brian and the lawnmower. You think about the AA driver looking at the Civic the way people look at a sleeping dog. You think, the Civic was for 22 years a question I answered every morning. The question was not, what should I drive? The question was, who am I? The Civic was every morning for 22 years the answer. Phase 6 is complete. You are the patient. You are the boring. You are technically the person Lucas had been waiting 20 years to meet. Thank you for watching Baby Finance. Click here to see more Baby Finance videos. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more Baby Finance videos, click here.